everybody, and welcome to another episode of Andersmill Knits. I am joined today by two of my favorite people in the world. We've got Stephanie, my co-host, Miss Hotpinksocks, and we've got Jamiie, Miss M1yarns. And I would love for you guys all to take a moment and introduce yourself. I guess I'll do that right now myself, just in case. You can find me. I finally changed my name on Instagram. It took Stephanie prodding me with a hot iron, but I did it. So now I'm Andersmill Knits on Instagram and soon to be Andersmill Knits on Ravelry. But for right now, I'm still AKA Millie on Ravelry. Just too much. Watson, stop it. But for right now, you can find me there on those two platforms. So it'll be more streamlined and everything. It'll be great. There won't be any more confusion and all that kind of stuff. And we'll be uploading and updating our logo that we've been working on. And you'll see, I'll put in a picture of it here. And then it'll be in the corner, hopefully, of the screen for the entire recording. Watson. So while you guys introduce yourself, I'm not going to be rude, but I'm going to go get my dog, so he'll be quiet.
Well, Watson is just trying to introduce himself.
Apparently, he won't be quiet. Oh.
Well, welcome back, everyone. My name is Stephanie, and I'm super excited to be here today for this interview. I think it's going to be fantastic. I can be found on Ravelry at Hotpinksocks and on Instagram as Hotpinksockreviews.
Well, I'm Jamiie, also known as the dyer behind M1yarns, and that's the letter M, the number 1, yarns. And I am literally M1yarns everywhere. Instagram, Ravelry, and M1yarns.com is my shop.
Yes. See, you know how to streamline things.
It was a process. It's just that, like, within the last 6 months, I got there.
Yeah. And I'm very proud of you. And I pulled out 2 of your skeins that I own.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I want to do with them, but because these are the Michigan sourced. Oh, wait, hold on. Here we go. Michigan sourced merino wool.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that they come in these smaller skeins because Stephanie and I were literally just talking about stashing and how I'm disappointed in how much just single skein fingering weight I have. And she was saying that I need to double it up to make worsted weight. I can literally double this up and make your famous hat. No, I can't make your hat. Can I? It'll still be too thin.
You could add maybe like a strand of mohair or something.
Yeah.
You have options. Although, you know what? That hat only takes 60 yards of bulky. And I think those skeins are
230.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I could
quadruple.
I was gonna say, yeah. And I'd still have leftovers.
Possibilities.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Because I'm telling you, during Christmas when you were doing your, what was it called? Your anti advent calendar thing.
Oh yeah.
With that hat and stuff. I wanted that so bad, but I'd already spent all my money.
Well, there will be more. There is always more yarn.
Good. So why don't you show off your dyeing expertise for a second?
Okay. Well, I pulled out, oh, sorry, I have a fussy dog, and I just kicked the tripod. Isn't that how Zoom always goes?
Yes.
Anyway, I pulled out a few of my favorite bases as well as colorways just for a little fun show and tell.
Yeah.
So I'll start with sparkle because I feel like we all need some sparkle in our life.
Oh my gosh, you can see that so vividly.
Yeah, this particular colorway, which I call on purpose as a little happy nod to Gigi made it on Instagram.
Yes.
She just glows with orange goodness, and This one particularly photographs well. Sometimes this base is hard to really capture that beautiful stellina sparkle. But anyway, I call this base Hot Rod. All my bases are named for like motor car kind of themes. And I guess I should explain my business name, which I'll get to in a moment so I don't digress too much. But anyway, this is a fingering weight merino nylon stellina, and I love sparkle.
Yeah. Now,
So.
is that one also Michigan wool or?
No. You know, to be honest, I'm drawing a blank on where the merino is sourced, but it is delightfully silky, and I made a pair of socks out of this yarn and was really blown away at how comfortable they were on my feet. Because I've heard that some yarns with stellina bothers people, but I'm super sensitive. So if it doesn't, you know, pass my kind of that sensitive part of your neck test, you know what I'm talking about? Like right here is the spot.
It's either ooh or it's oh.
Oh, and I mean, you both are quite fair, but like I'm, you know, being a natural redhead, my skin will turn like all sorts of blotchy red in like hot reactions to things. So that's been a point that I've made about my business is like, if it's not okay for my sensitivity, then it just, you know, doesn't make it to the shop.
Yes. I completely agree.
Sorry, I'm dropping yarn everywhere. It happens. Speaking of another fingering weight, this is my 80-20 base. And this is one of my top 2 colorways. And
I can see why.
Yeah, it's called Podcast Party. On the first episode of my podcast, I was wearing this sweater, and my co-host Danielle was wearing a pink sweater. And so I was trying to kind of capture those colors.
That's super cute.
I think it went really well.
I love that you have a story behind these colorways. Like,
oh yeah, you gotta have a story. Oh, and in fact, these earrings, I don't know if you can kind of see.
Cute.
Yeah.
Do you know Designs by Yasmin?
I've only heard of her.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds familiar.
Yeah, she's based out of, I want to say, Brooklyn, somewhere in the New York City area, and she has a shop and makes all sorts of beautiful crochet earrings. And I contacted her and said, would you, you know, make me a pair with this yarn? And she was kind enough to do so. And so that was kind of fun.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's see. My other favorite colorway here, this is on my DK Superwash base. It's called Tunisian Desert. And the name behind this colorway, my good friend Natalie, who is Detroit Knots on Instagram, she is like known for designing Tunisian crochet. And literally like the weekend before COVID kind of shut down America, we had a local brunch for like knitters and crocheters, and I knew she was going to be there, and I said, I really want to bring you some yarn, and I want to make a colorway just for you. And so I said, can you give me some inspiration? She said, well, I love, you know, oranges and kind of rust and things like that. So we had a long talk, and I developed this for her, and it kind of had like kind of a desert vibe a little bit.
Yes.
And I wanted to give the nod to her Tunisian crochet designing. So
wow.
this, I mean, what I love most about this colorway actually is that it's got warms and cools. So
it's gorgeous.
It really can suit a variety of tastes and styles.
You know, it reminds me of biting into a plum and all the different colors, like the flesh of the plum and the outside of, I just immediately saw that. But I have a friend that does Tunisian crochet, and it just astounds me because I mean, for those of you who don't know what Tunisian crochet is, it's pretty much a crossover between traditional crocheting and traditional knitting.
Yeah.
And I think that's about as far as I can go with that explanation.
Yeah.
Because I watched my friend do it, and I'm just like, huh? That doesn't make sense.
I did buy a set of Tunisian crochet. So you get the hooks, and then you get cables like you would for knitting.
Yes.
And my goal for this year is to actually learn. And I've done some experimenting, and I actually think it's definitely doable.
Good for you.
And crochet in general really kind of gives me anxiety. I think it's a beautiful art form, and you can do so many things.
Totally.
But I can't wrap my brain around it like fully, you know?
Well, and when you've gone so long in knit mode to then change over when it's kind of a variation, but kind of not. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Totally.
Don't you feel like it's like being bilingual?
Oh, for sure.
You know? Like, I'm horrible with foreign language.
Yep. Me too. It took me about, I don't remember, when I was singing professionally, I think it took me 3 years to learn to roll my R's. So when I was singing aria, I could actually do that. But
those Latin songs.
Yeah. So then, Jamiie, sorry, getting back on track. So you've mentioned a couple times that these are some of your favorite colorways, but I really want to know, what is your favorite colorway that you dye?
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's funny because I don't wear a lot of pink, but I love dyeing pinks. And I would say my favorite colorway to dye is, it's called Wild Child. And actually I have a skein of it on that bulky yarn.
Oh my gosh. And
this is a yarn that has like a gray base. So it's kind of interesting how you can just subtly see some of that depth. But this colorway has got like almost pink and purple undertones happening. And it's really cool the way this dye, when you put it in the water, it looks different than any other dye. It's got this like cloudy, muddy, it almost looks swampy. And then to literally watch it like magic, just suck into the yarn and become this vibrant, happy color is, it's really like a sensory experience.
Yeah. So here was one of my problems when I used to try and dye yarn. For those of you who don't know, Andersmilll Knits came from my yarn dyeing business.
Right.
I don't even know, 5 years ago when it went defunct. I just couldn't do it with my master's program and everything. I couldn't do it. But one of the things that I really struggled with in the dyeing process is that in-between stage where the yarn is absorbing all of the dye. I always started second guessing myself because it looked so disgusting, you know? And then when it finally dried, I'd be like, oh, I did okay there. This actually worked out.
Yeah.
But what about you? Do you ever have that difficulty?
Oh, all the time. Yarn dyeing, as much as I enjoy it, and I love seeing the finished product, of course, and working with it, it is like the most anxiety-inducing experience that you could almost imagine, because, you know, you're second-guessing yourself. Am I using too much? Should I try it this way today? Ooh, squirrel, let me go in this direction. And, you know, it's very freeing. I mean, it's definitely an art. I feel like there's never enough time and never enough yarn, especially now that there's like a yarn, well, there actually is a yarn shortage simply because the mills, you know, are being affected by COVID. So, you know, I do certainly get a lot of anxiety, but then I think it makes the reward that much more when you get something that you love and then the customer loves.
Yep. I agree. I mean, when I when I finished dyeing up yarn, I had an entire wholesale order that when I had told the company that the yarn shop that I was not going to be dyeing after this wholesale order, I had the whole thing done. But because I told them this would be their last order, they literally canceled it on me.
Oh,
So
no.
I had this whole stockpile. It was beautiful. I mean, I could have been knitting until year 3000. And when I moved back from Anchorage, I had my aunt and uncle were helping me pack. And I had some yarn set aside that I was gifting a local knitter. And then I had all of my Andersmill Knits yarn set in tubs to be going to my car to be shipped up to Alaska. Well, my aunt and uncle, they didn't listen to me, and they gave away all that yarn to that lady.
Oh, no.
And I got home and I flipped out so badly. And my mom was yelling at me that I needed to be grateful and it was an honest mistake, and I just could not calm down. So this weekend, when I've been going through my yarn stash and stashing things on, listing them on Ravelry, I've been finding these rare skeins of Andersmill Knits. And most of them are like test colorways that I never wanted to put out there ever. And yet now that I have them, I'm like cherishing them to the umpteenth moment, because I'm like,
For sure.
I don't have anything else at this point. You're all I
Yeah.
have, baby. So
Well, that's good that they're bringing you joy as you're finding them.
yeah. Some of them are pretty darn scary colorways. I'm gonna admit it. Like, I'm like, what in the world were you thinking?
Goodness. So Jamiie, tell us a little bit about your knitting story. How long have you been knitting? Who did you learn from?
Okay, so I've been knitting for about 17 years, I guess. So my mom is English, which I always feel like knitting is like a very English thing. You know, it has that rich European history. But I actually learned, and my mom is very crafty, but she never knit.
Oh.
And so I was kind of always curious about it, but it was in the periphery of my universe.
Sure.
And I used to work for the local county court system, and every week we would have like a big executive team meeting, and two of the women that were in the group would always come into the conference room, and before we'd start the meeting, they would be chatting away, bringing their projects in, talking about their knitting. And
Nice.
Finally, one day I had enough. I'm like, okay, I want in on this. Like, I can tell this is something beautiful and fun. And so one of the ladies was so kind. She said, I can teach you over a lunch hour. Well, she did. She taught me to cast on. She taught me to knit. She may have taught me to purl, but by the time I got home, that was out the window. And I bought a book. It's called The Knit Stitch, and I cannot remember the name of the author, but that's it in a nutshell. It's The Knit Stitch. All the patterns are just garter. And so this was pre-YouTube, of course.
Yeah.
I was stuck in knit mode. There was no purling. I was pretty much on Scarf Island. I was terrified of knitting in the round. It was, you know, it was bad. And the area I lived in, there was only one local yarn shop that I really knew of. And it was kind of out of my way. It was pretty out of my budget. And so I was doing like the big box store thing.
Yeah.
Well, going back to like my ultra sensitive skin, the yarns at big box stores literally will make my hands swell up. I don't know that it's necessarily like an allergy to acrylic, because obviously like acrylic is in so much of our clothes.
Yeah.
And most clothing doesn't bother me. It might be something, you know, that they use in their process, but for me, those like probably 3 years that I was just doing like Michael's and Joann's yarns.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually a miserable experience. Every time I would sit down to knit, you know, I was having this allergic reaction. And it wasn't until
You poor thing.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's so odd. It's just me. I'm just special.
But what made, I don't understand though, how why did you persevere through that? Because I think I would have given up.
Yeah, it definitely was not like a lifestyle situation like it is now. But I went on a trip out of town and happened to be like in a strip mall, maybe grabbing a Starbucks, and saw yarn shop. And I said, oh, time out, we're going in. And I bought some yarn and realized, okay, even if it means I have to knit less, if my budget, you know, will only allow for so much, I'd rather do it in a way where I'm enjoying it physically. I'm happy with the finished product. And so that kind of really started the journey for me. And that just changed everything.
Yeah.
Doesn't it though? One thing leads to another, and then you start talking the knitting language and you start getting excited about patterns and yarns and possibilities. Yeah, it's one thing after another, and I would say it's a journey. You know, you really fall in love with the craft as you get going.
Yeah. And I think we've all met via Instagram. And for me, like, I'm not big on Facebook, but what I love about Instagram is the visual. And I've, made so many great friendships in the fiber community that's been really as life-changing as, the hobby itself.
For sure.
I completely agree. At this point, my closest friends are all people that I've met via this craft,
For sure.
Yeah. It's funny
Did you
how
say people or sheeple?
I might have said sheeple. I don't know.
Sheeple, that's okay.
Hey, we're sheeple. We're sheep people.
Right, that's good.
There you go.
Oh, I love it.
We're going with it.
The name of the podcast today, Sheeple.
Yep.
Okay.
Hashtag sheeple.
Sheeple with Jamiie. That's right.
Oh, I love it.
Hilarious.
Well, okay. So then I have a follow-up question then.
Okay.
I really, really, really want to know what project you had the most heartache over, but I really kind of don't want to go down that lane. So I'm going to keep it to it doesn't have to be your most successful thing that you made, but what's the thing that you have continuously been in love with since you finished it or something like that?
Oh, that's like the $1 million question, isn't it?
I know. Yeah.
Well, my latest finished object, I'm just going to reach for my phone so I can show you a photo of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't bring it in the room because it's so big and bulky. It's kind of cumbersome, and when you hold it up, it just looks like a wet rag. But so last January 1st, 2020, I decided that I would cast on a cardigan for my husband.
Nice.
And this was like, we'd been married only a few months. We'd been together for years, but I had delayed.
By the way, I spied on your wedding photos, and they were beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you. We were
I didn't do that. I'm not a stalker. I'm just saying.
You just have to keep scrolling.
I did. Full disclosure, I did.
But I know what you're talking about, and I'm super excited about this one. Okay, go ahead.
Well, so we were lucky enough that we got married maybe 3 or 4 months before the pandemic was, in its early stages. Sorry, my dog's getting fussy now. Come here, Jack.
I think because he can hear Watson, I bet.
Oh, maybe. Come here. You want to come sit down?
I'm going to put myself on mute until I can get him to shut up. But you guys talk.
So we got married, and I waited till we got married so that, the sweater curse.
Yeah.
So around that time, now my dog's making my chair go down. Woo. This is the blooper reel that you don't have to cut out.
You're good.
Oh my gosh, too funny. So soon after we got married, I said, okay, well, we're married now. It's time to knit him a sweater. So I got him involved in the process, and he picked out a pattern out of, probably 3 or 4 options I gave him. Mm-hmm. And I'll show you the finished object photo. Let's see. I don't know if it's really picking up.
Oh, that is sharp.
It's got cables, and let's see if that's better. There you go.
Oh, yeah. That is sharp.
Oh, yeah.
That's his cute face.
No wonder he's so big on you. He's got such broad shoulders, my God.
Yes.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
So I cast it on in January, and it was going okay, but the cables was like a lot. And I'm a 34, so I'm used to knitting like mostly for myself, and it's, a doable size. But he's a 48, and so that was like a whole mind shift of like, why is this sweater taking longer than mine? And I thought, it being bulky yarn, that it would go fast. No, the cables. And so then the pandemic started, and I just could not do it. So I put it down. I try and come back to it, and then 2020 was just getting worse. And I put it away until November, and I said, you know what? This project is not going from 2020 into 21. It's got to get done this year.
Good for you.
I really worked hard on finishing it for Christmas, and I finished it at like 11:59 Christmas night.
Wow.
And he loves it. He was a good sport and did finished object photos for me. Aww. Which is totally not his jam. He's not on social media. He's not really into having photos done, but so that was really special, because I think I mostly knit for myself, and to knit for someone else, brought me joy, and I want to make that a more regular practice.
Yeah. So does that gonna mean that you're gonna knit your stepson a matching one?
That's a good question. I don't know about a matching one. I did knit for him when he was a lot younger, and by the time I finished it, he'd outgrown it. Kid growth spurts and all. I think when he's a little bit older, when he can take care of his belongings to my satisfaction, then I will.
But so wait, so yarn has to be at Jamiie's satisfaction, the stepson has to be at Jamiie's satisfaction, so the whole world is held to the standard I'm seeing.
Right? I have a lot of strings attached. Oh God.
Nope. No, let's just be honest though. I mean, in our families, whether we have partners or children, no children, animals, like we all have expectations of them. Yeah.
You can't go through life without them. Come on.
No. Steph, do you knit for your girls?
I do. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old, 2 little girls. And I think it was last episode, I was telling Emily, I knit a sweater for them every Christmas, and it goes under the tree, and it's always something I hide, so they have no idea. And then, I have a sweater. So I have to be careful about like hats and mittens, because those, they're gone.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Do you do with the mittens, do you do it with the string that goes up through, like we did back in the 80s and 70s, the string that goes from one mitten to the other?
My girls would strangle themselves. Not my girls.
My mom did the ones with the, it was like metal teeth that would clip onto your,
yes.
And they were so uncomfortable.
Yeah, right. I used to chew on them. On the school bus. Emily's not weird. No.
Oh my goodness. So are you knitting on anything right now, Jamiie?
Technically not at this exact moment for very good reason. But I have 3 whips,
Okay, let's see them.
Well, so one I actually finished this morning, and I've spent part of my day weaving in ends, which the fact that I'm actually doing it is pretty good. You know, we all like to leave our ends, you know, I mean, that's a chore. But this is the Feel and Groovy Cardi by Knit Collage, and this is a mashup of probably 10 different yarns.
That is so gorgeous. Is that the one Danielle was knitting?
Oh, I think she made the the name
is
escapes
similar,
me.
but
Similar, and it's like Knit Collage. So this is a collection of yarns I picked up at Rhinebeck in 2019, and then a couple other events and scraps, and it was just super fun. So
awesome.
that's with
so then
number
did the
one.
pattern call for you to do scraps, or did you just make it gamified?
The pattern says basically using like an super bulky yarn, and then, you know, striping kind of as you see fit. But I knew I wanted to do like a marl situation.
It's really cute.
Thanks. So finished object photos to come. And then
please.
My other two knits, this one is a test knit for, and I have to look at my phone to get the name right. It's the, I don't speak German. It's the Schlossel dress, Schlossel by Siga Leganta. It's in test knit mode, and it's got color work. I just split for the sleeves, so
it's a
kind of in
dress.
that. It's a dress. Actually, I can show you a photo from.
I've been looking for a skirt. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's going to be gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Is there a slit in that, or is it just the way the fold is falling?
Just the way it's falling. The skirt is pretty full.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm at the point where I just split for the sleeves, and I'm about to start the next chart, which is why I can't knit on that, you know, while we're talking. But this was pretty fun, and for this like snowflake-ish motif, I decided to add in a strand of Surrey alpaca, which is my Surrey silk street base. And it gives it, if you've ever done color work with Surrey, it kind of creates like a raised effect.
It does.
And I'm really enjoying that. So stay tuned on that.
And what yarn are you using?
Oh, for this? So the alpaca is my Surrey silk street, and then the others are my DK base, which is called Easy Rider.
Awesome.
And these are some colors that are in the shop. Not this kind of rusty one, but the blue is called Blue Jeans, or Denim, excuse me. And this is olive. And so yeah, we'll see how it's coming out. Really fun. It's a great design, and you know, I think a knit dress will be super cozy.
Oh yeah.
So then which color is going to be the full skirt part? Is that going to be the white, or?
No, actually, well, I debated on that. The designer did a different color for the bottom. And so for the bottom, you actually hold merino with, too many project bags going here. Held with, oh, where is it? Oh.
I love putting people on the spot. I'm so sweet.
So, merino with Surrey.
Oh, God.
And so I just thought this would be like, this is not a color I normally have in the shop, but it's a color I really love.
Well, but talk about something that goes really well with your complexion. Because my youngest sister is a natural born redhead with blue eyes, very fair. That is a beautiful color. Beautiful color.
Thank you. Yeah, I was really aiming for like, you know, because I dyed all of the skeins just for this project, just for me. And so I thought, well, you know what? Why not? You got to be selfish sometimes.
Absolutely. And on a dress, I mean, go gangbusters.
Yeah.
Do you have to be done with this by a certain time?
I have to be done with the yoke, which she defined that as where I'm at, splitting for the sleeves.
Okay.
By next week. So I'm already ahead of the game.
Good.
Well, there you go.
But my hope is to kind of get past the color work chart comes like to your waist level and then a little bit on the sleeves. And I want to get through that part just so I can give her feedback on the charts.
Good
so
idea.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
You're doing amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. It was actually a lot easier and a lot more fun than, you know, I think you always kind of like build up a project and think, oh, which parts are going to stress me out? Yes. Which parts am I going to cruise on? And it's been pure joy. I'll just share real quick, if I may, my last whip, which, oh, you've knit, don't you knit her patterns, Steph?
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Oh my gosh.
For those of you who don't know who her is,
right.
Jennifer Steingass has some amazing color worked yoked sweaters. And if you've never tried one, I would honestly say for a first time color work sweater, experienced or not, try it. She has impeccable patterns. Her explanation, her links, everything are just flawless. If you're going to try it, she is the designer to try a sweater. Yeah, for sure, for color work.
That's really high praise because there's a lot out there over the last, would you say 2 years? It's really that yoke color work, almost Icelandic in nature, has been gaining so much traction. I mean, it's flooding everywhere. And so there's so many designers to choose from. And I'll be honest, I get worried about those kinds of things. I know Ursula, she thinks she can. I can trust her. Yeah. But she doesn't have any sweaters out. But anyway, sorry. But as far as color work goes, I'm not experienced enough to think that I could go and just do a no-name designer and be okay with it. Yeah. Because I won't be able to pick out the mistakes. But, yeah.
There was one I actually did last year, the Pink Velvet by Andersmilll. And on that one, I had to put stitch markers every like set of the chart. I was struggling on that pattern. It just, my brain, you know, couldn't get with the program.
It's one of those things when it's not a repeatable segment in a pattern like that, it's very hard to get it's very easy to get lost in that, especially when you aren't segmenting it out. Yeah.
So Steph, what part are you at on that?
Okay, so I have split for sleeves.
I'm just about to split for the sleeves. That's why I'm not knitting.
That is so funny.
All right, Jamiie, I have to tell you, she texted me. I should go back and look actually to verify this, but I swear to you, it was Thursday night. I got a text from her and she said, "Look, I cast on." So I'm thinking, oh, it'll take her. Yeah.
Wow.
What are we, 5 days in? And she's already split for the sleeves. I'm like, I just don't even want to talk to her anymore.
Well, if I get out my knitting journal, I can tell you. Let's just see. I started on January 20th.
Okay. So 5 days.
And I started on November 1st. But I put it to the side. So in all fairness, it's, you know, it's been in timeout. Yours is beautiful.
Would you say you are more of a monogamous knitter, or are you cast on crazy girl?
No, I am much more a monogamous knitter. And I'll tell you why.
Yes.
So years ago when I was like, you know, had just deep dove into lifestyle knitting, I was casting on everything. I would, you know, oh, squirrel, oh. Yeah. And at one point I had 12 whips, which I know lots of people have like 30 whips that go on for, but that gave me a lot of anxiety, and I was finding it was detracting from the joy. And it was probably 2-3 years ago. I said, okay, the year is coming to an end. I'm going to finish these whips, and I'm going to limit myself to 3. 3 is like just pushing the boundaries.
Yes.
So I would rather kind of focus. Plus, I mean, let's say you're doing color work, and then all of a sudden you're switching gears tomorrow for something else. I mean, I was doing like stockinette on something I wasn't supposed to. And, you know, especially because I don't know if you're like me, you don't sit down to knit until you're pretty much tired. It's the end of the day.
Yes.
Not good.
Well, and I've always struggled with this, where I focus more in meetings and things like that if I have knitting in my hands. But the thing is, or a fidget toy, you know, but the thing is that there's only, you have to do very simple knitting for those kinds of things, like socks, right? And even that can sometimes, because like this is such crinkly yarn, I have to keep on checking where I'm at, just to make sure I'm not doing something wrong. But anyway, so I'm always starting a project thinking it'll be simple enough that I can do other things while I'm knitting it, turning out that I can't. And so I'll set it aside and start a new one. And I do get frustrated with that, because I found so much joy in doing this color work, the color work that I did in the month of November and December, that I really love that concentration. And so far in the month of January, I have no concentration to give my knitting whatsoever. I've been so exhausted. And then what concentration I do have, I've been giving to stashing, to organizing the stash. That, the only time I'm knitting this last week, the only time I knit was during my training that I took, which was exhausting. But anyway. So I hear you though, because I think I would rather just have 1 or 2 things on the needles, but my life is just so, at least in my head, my life is strange. So I have to meet my knitting, I have to put it into the boxes where my life is at, you know? So.
Well, you got to do what works for you.
Exactly. But I get really anxious, that whole anxiety thing you were talking about. Like yesterday, like Stephanie kept on texting me, "Aren't you excited you're getting all this stashing done?" And I really, really wanted to text her back and say no. Because I'm so first off, I'm upset that I bought so much yarn, and not actually finish the project. Second off, I've got so many half-finished objects, and the yarn for those objects somehow have gotten scattered everywhere. And so now, as I'm going through and I'm stashing the yarn, I'm like, oh, I know I've started a project with that yarn. I got to go find that project. And there's like 3 or 4 projects that I literally cannot find right now. And so I'm like full of anxiety.
That's rough. You'll get there.
Yes.
You're doing great. You really are.
Yeah. So, okay, so what yarns are each of you using? Because Steph, last time we recorded, you didn't have ball bands, so you don't know, right?
I'm going to say something like a Cascade 220 or something very basic, worsted weight. Like I said, like a barn red and a asphalt gray. Ooh, that's not good. There. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
It's stash.
Yeah.
Nice.
Exactly. Okay, so then what about you, Miss Jamiie?
So this is my mohair silk base, which is called Riding on Air. You can kind of see that floof.
Yeah.
And the white is just undyed, and then the blue is, it was kind of, I dyed it for me, but it might be coming to the shop soon, so.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Those are so gorgeous. I love that you knit with your color, your yarns that you dye too, because it's one thing to see it in the skein, but it's another thing to see it actually knit up in a project, and then another thing entirely again when you see it on a person, right?
Yeah,
Oh, for sure.
And what you're
Definitely.
proving is that your yarn is very much wearable, adaptable to your lifestyle, and you know, I very much am in approval of that.
Oh, so you're supporting my yarn habit.
Yep, very much, very much.
Okay, this is why we're friends.
Yep. Well, okay, guys, I have a new cast on that Stephanie doesn't even know I started. I kept on meaning to post it, but I never did. So hold on, let me cover up my friend's name again. But there it is. I started this big
good.
towel neck dress.
Good for your friend.
Yes. Okay. And so here it is, with her standing up.
Ooh, love it.
And I've been, so I gotta collect my thoughts here. So I'm knitting on this with, the yarn it calls for, sorry, for some reason I'm not doing this right. Debbie Bliss Como. All right, so I didn't pay for this yarn, but I added it up. This one, because it's marked how much this is. This woman spent over $400 on yarn for this sweater dress. And now I'm feeling a lot of pressure because I don't want to mess it up. I felt pressure before, but
you won't.
Yeah. But the thing is, okay, so this is knit on size 15 needles.
Oh, nice.
So, okay, wait, hold on. Here we go.
And it's kind of going with our green theme tonight.
Yes, exactly. Got this simple cable that it's on for the rest of the body, and then it's got, can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Lace work, which I've never done lace work in bulky before.
It's beautiful.
It really is, and I think it's being blown out because, like you said, I'm wearing green. There's a green tree behind me. Right. So, and this is a different green than what I'm wearing, although it's kind of matching. But no,
that's gonna be really nice.
Actually, it's the same. But yeah, the US 15s, so I have a pinched nerve in my neck, and I find that I can only knit about 4 to 6 rows at a time on this before I have to set it down for not just a day, but like I have to have a rest day in between. So I cast this on almost immediately after we last recorded, and this is as far as I've gotten. And
that's still pretty good though, really, when you think about it, because you have other projects that you're doing too. Yeah.
And I really love it. It is like, I didn't think this was going to be a joy to knit because I'll be honest, it's just not something that's I would ever think to knit. It's not in my wheelhouse. It's not my style. And then on top of that though, it's written in the English knitting style. So I'm having to actually figure out things like, for instance, I did not know that YF stands for yarn forward, which for us means, for at least in my vocabulary, means just to bring the yarn in front. But that's actually their yarn over. And I was like, oh, okay. I had to actually go on YouTube and figure that one out.
Yeah, that would throw me a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few things in here, like the way they talk about doing cables, C2F. I haven't done cables in a very long time, so I could be wrong in what I remember. But when you're only cabling, when there's only one stitch being switched around, you would actually only say cable 1 forward, right? Or
It
am I
usually
wrong?
gives you the amount that you put in that cable twist. Yeah, you know, you're right.
Okay. Because so then I had to figure out that no, they mean they just want you to switch 2 stitches around. That's literally it. That's the cable. So, I think I'm explaining that correctly. Anyway, so there's been a couple things that I'm learning, and so that's been really, really fun to learn. And at the same time, like I said, I feel a lot of anxiety now that I know how expensive this dress is for my friend.
Just think about it as how excited she will be when you're able to give it to her.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And, you know, Jeremy was laughing at me, or with me, I should say, yesterday when I was telling him how many sweater quantities I have. Now, I'm going to show you guys this in a second, but I've calculated up that I have over 30 sweater quantities, either on the needles or just ready to go. Stephanie, how many do you have?
I think I have like 5 or 6, I think.
That's appropriate. This is not appropriate. 30
Well,
is
it's
not
all relative.
Just think about it this way. If over the next, say, 5 or 6 years, you might purchase 30 new sweaters, which is pretty
For 5 years, yeah.
Yeah.
possible.
Mhm.
Now, I didn't say how much these sweaters cost. No judgment.
Yeah.
You know, you're just contributing to your handmade wardrobe.
There you go.
You're
That's a good
actually
thought.
saving money at the mall.
And guaranteed, the hand knit sweater is going to last a lot longer than the store-bought one.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I've always had that dream. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I'll be 40 this summer and I still don't have children. You know, waiting. There needs to be a divine intervention at this point. But I've always had this image in my head ever since I started knitting as a teenager that whatever I knit, I always want it to be heirloom quality.
Yeah.
And that it'll be passed on to my kiddos or my grandkids. So I'm completely with you. Like, these sweaters are all going to be heirloom quality. And, you know, like they have those fisherman sweaters that they wear from generation to generation. That's what I want, you know?
Yeah.
Speaking of, I want to knit Jeremy a fisherman sweater because he goes out fishing.
That was my next question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I've been married 13 years and my husband would rather be in a sauna than put a sweater on. So
Yeah. Yeah.
each
I mean,
to his own.
yeah, Jeremy is a very typical Alaskan male where he's just like, oh, it's 2 degrees outside. I'm still in shorts and a t-shirt. I'm good.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I went and got myself a soda this morning, and this man was walking. I think it was 17 degrees this morning, and this man was walking in, and you could literally see the steam coming off of his
Oh my
because he was wearing
goodness.
shorts and t-shirts, and you could see the steam coming off of him, and everything was bright pink from the cold. And I was just like, do you need a ride home? And he's like, no, I just live a couple blocks away. I'm all good. And I'm just like,
Oh.
you're gonna get frostbite. But okay. By the
Did
way,
you have any dream knitting?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I've always wanted to knit a knit dress with long sleeves. I've done kind of like a sleeveless dress tunic. So a long sleeve dress has been a dream. And so I'm happy that project I showed you is now a dream in progress.
That's
So
so
that's, now that I finished the husband sweater and now I'm doing this dress, I feel like I can die a happy woman.
Check. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Mhm. I think you've done well.
Thank you.
Well, now I know that you do candle making, which, by the way, I still want one of your candles.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to know, because you seem like a kind of person that I could envision making a capsule wardrobe. with sewing and all that. Have you ever done that kind of thing?
Oh, sewing?
Yeah.
You know, I have a sewing machine. My mom taught me how to sew when I was a kid, but I'm awful. I'm, you
Me
know,
too.
I'm only 5'3" on a good day, like if I do yoga. Otherwise, you know, it's like somewhere under 5 foot sometimes. It feels like. So I basically, long story short, I have to hem all my pants, which
Oh, yeah.
I can do. I mean, they don't look fantastic, so my tailor gets a lot of my money. But
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
yeah, I think when I retire, I would love to take the time to really focus on sewing. So maybe one day.
Yeah. I think that's probably more my speed too. But I've never known, Stephanie, what about you? I mean, I know that you embroider, but I don't
I
know.
sew. Well,
Okay.
I made, for a while I was making project bags.
Oh, that's right.
I sewed a lot more when my girls were itty bitty. I can follow a basic sewing pattern. I can size clothing. Truth be told, my husband is a collegiate baseball coach. And so I probably do a lot more hemming and tailoring of baseball uniforms than anything else in this world.
Yeah.
Truth be told.
Oh, yes. Well, okay, so then, this then leads to a question I've never thought of until this moment. Let's say knitting was taken from you. You couldn't knit ever again, right? You still had access to the yarn, so I'm gonna say you could still crochet, but what craft would you then lean towards if you couldn't knit?
Oh, geez. Probably crochet, Tunisian crochet.
Uh-huh.
You know, also I might dive into, what do they call it? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. Do you know when people create like paintings but with fiber?
Yes, fiber felting. In fact, I've got one here.
Yeah.
I'll pull mine out while you keep talking and show you.
That and like, you know, those wall size macrame hangings?
Mm-hmm.
That fascinates me too. So
Absolutely.
We are so alike.
there's options, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't become bored by any stretch. Ooh.
No.
This is there we go.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is one that I started a few years ago that I just unearthed this weekend.
That's
that
awesome.
I never finished.
Cool.
Wow.
But it was supposed to be sort of like Tree of Life, but kind of more ethereal kind of a thing. More organic than, well, hello, Tree of Life is organic. But I think I need to finish this.
Yeah.
It is so messy to do this, Jamiie. Oh my gosh. I would never do this unless I was on my back porch or something.
Okay.
So, because I was lucky at the time, I had a studio. It was the first place I lived in Oregon. And I had sheets and sheets piled up all around me because I had so much water sloshing everywhere.
Wow.
But yes, I would agree with you. This was fun because you get a lot of energy out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Great question.
Right. Okay, what about you, Steph? What would you do?
Besides gardening, which is a second job for me, by choice, I think I would probably dabble back into cross stitch. I have two that are identical. They are advent calendars from the Frosted Pumpkin that I still have yet to finish. I really want to finish them. They're on that silver foiled canvas and like candy cane lane and super duper cute for my girls, you know, someday. I think probably cross stitch. It was one of my first crafts that I learned when I was, gosh, 8, 9, I don't know, whenever my mom taught me. Yeah, I think probably go back to that pretty easily.
Nice. I like
Nice.
that. I think I would say I want to paint, but I want to do mixed media painting, and I literally can't draw a straight line. I mean, and I've got such great artists in my family, and so I get really intimidated by that. And like they create, like, I'm sorry, I'm looking over at my wall across here because I've got about 7 things on my wall that family members have created, and they're all just mind-blowingly stunning in my opinion. And I get really intimidated because it just seems to flow naturally, like and I struggle with just even making anything presentable. So but I've decided, like, this is my year. I'm not going to let that intimidation hold me back anymore. I can accept my own creativity as it is. And so that's why I really wanted to do that art journaling, is because if there's something in there that I feel like I can share, then I can share it. But on the main, this is something private just for me. It can be complete and utter dog turds, or it can be a masterpiece, and it's still for me. So
yeah.
And then did you guys know that you can take an Altoid can and make that into a traveling watercolor palette thing?
Oh.
Yeah. I've been getting some
my
books.
Altoid tins for all my stitch markers.
I know, right?
Wait, your stitch markers don't live in your couch?
Oh, yeah, the other half do, for sure.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my.
Well, I know this is totally out of context, but to finish things off, how about, okay, Jamiie, you showed your FO from your husband's sweater, which I absolutely adore. Steph, do you have any FOs? Because I've just got one sock.
I put mine in the mail this morning.
Oh, those socks.
I finished up the last pair of socks, if I can find it, and then I finished up the Sweet Georgia Yarns, her 5 well, they're bigger than a mini skein, but they're good size mini skeins, her 5-color gradient. I did.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know what the shawl is called, but it's whatever. Let's see here.
It's whatever. Oh my gosh. Seriously, come on.
Oh, Lordy. Let's see here.
Wait, did you send this off as well?
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't know you were making her a shawl.
It was the last of her yarn. It really did not lend to a sock. It was almost too gradiated, not in a bad way, but it just was very slight color different, and it didn't look right. Anyway, that's gonna totally color blow out. Okay, anyway, whatever. And then I did finish, oh God, good grief. Where is it? Right there. Wow. Anyway, I did finish her last pair of socks. So I think she ended up with 8 pairs of socks and a color gradient, just a real simple triangle, double loop over, and just, real nice. So yeah, I think she'll be excited about that.
That's nice and super unexpected, because she's probably not expecting to get, a shawl as well.
She was so sweet. She just gave me freedom to do whatever. She's just so sweet about it. So
nice. Well, I wish we could see the pictures. I'm just thinking to myself, okay, she knew we were recording today, and yet she still sent it off this morning. I'm kidding.
I'll send you a picture. It's right here.
There you go. If you want to send me those pictures, text them to me and I'll insert them into the video.
Okay, like Vanna Green.
Yeah. If my new editing software on my computer will work. By the way, everybody, if you watched our last episode, that was mainly user error. I got a new editing software on my computer because I generally edit them on my phone, but I don't know how to do that with Zoom.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I actually lost, I had some really pretty edits in and really good flow in, and then I pushed a button and it all went away. And I had to start over. And at that point I was frustrated and I was like, they're getting what they're getting.
Right.
But I had this started last time. And this is my Knit Picks. Yeah. This is my Knit Picks colorway in the where it was the Hawthorne sock reels fingering weight. Sorry, I'm trying to show you. And this is the colorway. Oh, that is the front. What? Citron stripe. And I tried, so on the leg I did 3x2 ribbing, and then it's kind of difficult to do 3x2 ribbing with this yarn as crinkly as it is. It's not. So here's an example of how, wait, okay, Emily, come on now.
Yeah.
That's how crinkly it comes out. So
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool, but it can get pretty, I know my tension is off. I haven't tried the sock on yet, but I know my tension's off. And I'm finding it difficult to do the 3x2 ribs. So once I got to the fish lips kiss heel, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I gave that up. But it still looks like on the foot that I did texture and I didn't. That's straight stocking net.
Wow.
It's really nice.
Yeah. I love this black and gray in there. It's kind of shocking, but I love it.
Good job.
And I'm using my stitch markers that I got for Christmas from my friend Shauna.
From Shauna. Yeah. Aren't those cool?
Is it coming up? Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went diving into my little balls of yarn for each day to get out the stitch markers. But at the same time, I felt really kind of sad doing it because she matched up the yarn with the stitch markers she made for me so perfectly. I hated to break them up, but you know. Oh, and that's another thing. I'm finding so many tools as I'm going through all of my stash. I'm like, I found this beautiful pair of scissors that I was just like, oh, I didn't even know I owned you. I'm kind of wondering if I don't actually own them.
You're gifting yourself all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
So
Nice.
Well, thank you guys for spending the time with me today with my red lobster face. For those of you who don't know, I went tanning because we don't get sun in Alaska. And so, you know, you get your vitamin D artificially sometimes. And I went tanning. I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you see the mark where my chain is on my...
Oh, yeah, right there.
Yep. It burned me so bad.
Oh.
I was having a difficult time the last 2 days. So you get the lobster face. But anyway, thank you guys for joining in. This was amazing.
It was.
And just one more time, if you want to find Jamiie anywhere on the interwebs, it is M1yarns. Just put that into Google. It'll come right up with her stuff.
Go take a look at her shop, you guys. I'm not just saying that because she's here. Really, she has some color palettes that are so variant from other designers and really sets herself apart. So please take the time to go look. And thank you, Jamiie, so much for spending time with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
I know. Now, okay, this is the way it's going to go from now on. In 2 weeks, when we have my woolen mitten, Carrie on here, instead of it being just Stephanie, Emily, and her, now Jamie's going to be on too. No, I'm kidding. By the time the year's out, we'll have 27 people on a Zoom call.
There you go.
I wish.
You never know.
Yep. But
well, until next time,
remember to knit what you love
and love what you knit.
Ta-ta for now.
Bye.